Welcome to the Uncivil Mentality Podcast. I'm Erik Vidal.
And I'm Reilly Kilbride.
Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, Justin, welcome to the podcast. Excuse my late entrance, but we're excited to have you on today. Just give us a brief intro, where you're from, who you are, all things Justin.
Sounds good. Well, first, I appreciate you guys having me on. It's my first time doing this. The tardiness is excused, brother. No worries. Life happens. So, like you said, my name is Justin Pacifico. I'm a fireman here in DeLand, Florida, City of DeLand. Been there for about 3 years. Just a fireman still. Worked at another department for about a year. Prior to fire service, I was a collegiate athlete, University of Florida. Ran track and field there. That's right, baby. Go Gators. Ran the 800 and the 1500 mile there, as well as was on the team. So we did some good stuff there. Sport was pretty much the biggest thing in my life leading up to the fire service. My dad was a fireman in the late 80s, early 90s, FDNY in South Bronx. So he never put the fire service or waited on me and said, hey, man, go do this. It was always just like an option. And then my college career ended in 2020. I think the NCAA championships indoor, where COVID shut down the whole world. So I came back home, finished my degree, joined the fire service, and I've been doing this ever since, man.
There's a lot unpacked there, Justin. That sounds like a wild ride, and you put into a couple sentences.
Yeah.
Well, first, let's bring it back. Let's talk about Pops first, if you don't mind.
Yeah, for sure, man.
So did you grow up in New York? How'd you make your way down to Florida?
Yeah, so I was born in Long Island, New York. Was there for my first 3 years of life. So I don't know much about New York. Moved down to Florida in 2000, thank God. Because who knows what happened a year later, you know. So I moved down here in 2000. So been down here ever since. Grew up in Palm Coast area, Flagler Beach, east side of Florida, right above Daytona Beach. So been here my whole life. My dad has always been, my biggest mentor. Like I said, man, he never pushed me to join the fire service, but he's always been my idol, my mentor. And he came down here, volunteered for a little bit with City Palm Coast. A little different from when he was up north. So my grandfather got sick. He kind of stepped away from the whole firefighting gig, worked a full-time job after that, and is still working to this day, man. So he's a hard worker, bro, but he's always been there for me, and he exposed me to a lot.
That's dope. I mean, I didn't know that at all, man. That's pretty freaking cool, if you ask me.
Leather that he wore back in the day.
Yeah, dude.
Sent it to Ragtop Fire, and they redid it for me. Now I wear his helmet to this day.
Dude, that's pretty cool. Did your dad, I mean, you talk about going to your dad for advice. Does he talk about, has the game changed so much since, he's been there and nowadays fire service?
Oh, absolutely, man. He calls nowadays fire service soft, bro.
Yeah, I would imagine.
And to back his point, I mean, I think it's, you can say what it is, but they were cowboys back then, so but no, man, he's proud of me. He loves what I do. He's happy at where I'm at, my department that I'm at. He loves those guys. So, and I share my mentor now, which is Lieutenant Nate Carn that works for our department. Him and Nate kind of shared similar qualities, man. So it's exciting.
So how far is the distance between Miami-Dade and where you're at?
From me,
I know Miami is really southern, but
we're 3 hours south or north of Miami. So I'm about 3 hours north of Erik. But from DeLand, I'm not sure because you got to take I-4 over there. So it's probably another 3 hours. So,
Were you guys affected by Milton a lot?
Where I work we got flooded out. A lot of the homes there in the south end got affected, flooded out. My parents, like I shared with you last week, my parents were in Tampa, so they got hit pretty hard, but no real crazy damage. Thank God. So, but my dad was like, I'm not leaving, so whatever, dude.
That's the most Florida shit you can say. Like every part of my family was like, "I'm not going anywhere." I'm like, that's what they talk about on the news of those people that
Yeah.
they just stay down there.
Yep. Hunker down, baby.
All right, so then kind of you moved to Florida as a kid and you get into athletics. Like what brought you to track and field and kind of talk about how that journey got you to the greatest institution on earth,
Yeah.
University of Florida.
Yeah, man. Funny enough, I didn't do track and field until my junior year of high school.
Eh,
So I played baseball, football, and soccer growing up, and I played football and baseball for the most of my life. Went into FPC, which is my high school. Played varsity football my first 2 years, um, and then did track and field my freshman year of high school. Right, just playing around with it, not really anything serious. Um, Sophomore year, same kind of thing. And I ran this event. I think I ran the 800 for the first time. And my high school coach was like, he's like, "Hey, buddy, let me see you real quick." And he was like, you know, what are your goals? Right. He wanted to know like what colleges were I looking at? Where did I want to go? And of course, me being me back then, I was like, oh yeah, Oregon, Virginia Tech, Florida. It's like, he's like, all right, well, first things first, he's like, you got to quit the football team if you want to go anywhere near that. Because I mean, look, if you look at me, I've always been a small dude. I'm 5'9". Back then I was probably soaking wet, 145 pounds. So he knew, if I wanted to get there, and he saw something in me in the 800 meters. So I quit football, joined cross country my junior year. Um, I think I got like 12th place or something like that in the state meet in cross country. Came back, was the silver
Florida,
medalist.
that ain't no joke. Florida is like flooded with athletes.
Yeah. So then on track that year, I got second place in the state meet. I was a silver medalist at the state championship meet. Went on a visit to Florida. Went on a visit to Florida State,
Ooh.
schools, and Florida was where I wanted to go. It was where I felt like I fit most in. And if you look on my official visit, man, we had Noah Lyles, who is now on Netflix, the Sprinter series. He was
Yep.
on official visit. He signed that year. Didn't end up
Wow.
going. Went pro. But we had him. We had Grant Holloway, who's the gold medalist in the 110 hurdles. Like, there's spitting images of like Florida is the standard, man. It's the standard of track and field, Olympic athletes, and that's what I wanted to do, man. So I went and signed the dotted line and did the next 4 years, man.
That's a pretty killer recruit class for a track and field team.
Yeah.
But there is, I mean, I'm very biased, but from an Olympic sport point of view, University of Florida, I mean, the swimming, the track, I mean, they put out some pretty good athletes.
Yeah, I think if you look at the top schools, it's like Stanford, right? Because they're Stanford, UCLA, the heart and soul of Los Angeles. Like these are like big city schools, right? You look at University of Florida in Gainesville, where it's like nothing,
Yeah,
it's a college town, but they have athletes, bro, and that's where I wanted to like fit in. I wanted to be there, and I had another, like I said, the mentors that I have in my life. Like my biggest mentor there was my head coach, and he's the one who's breeding all these Olympians. So it's like you can learn so much from him, from anybody. Why not? So I did it, and I had the best 4 years I think of my life. So I learned a lot. We won a lot, we lost a lot,
yeah.
but we learned a lot too.
So with track and field, there's an indoor season and an outdoor season.
Mm-hmm.
Which one did you prefer and why?
So I mean, I like both. I never had indoor growing up here in Florida, so I didn't know anything about it. And then I did it, and I kind of liked it because it if you're shorter with the turns, because it's a 200-meter track instead of a 400-meter track that you have outdoor. So 200-meter, you can kind of ride the curves as a small guy, kind of fight your way through these battles, and I liked it, man. I liked it a lot, but it was way different, man. It's uncomparable because outdoor you run faster, the weather's better, and yeah, man. So I think I like qualities of both of them. I can't really tell you which one I like more, man. It's different, bro.
Yeah, different game.
Yeah,
So do you now that your running career is pretty much over, do you ever just run for fun?
yeah. Every now and more so training for selection with Florida Smoke Diver. It was like yeah, I went back to my old days of
Hmm.
like setting running plans and doing the stuff that I hadn't done since college. So it was kind of cool to tap back into it.
do you feel like you have that aerobic capacity just for forever? Like you will always be kind of like a quote unquote endurance type athlete?
Yeah, I think I mean, yeah, in the most humbled way possible of saying it, like I like that. That's my jam, man. I like the whole cardio side of everything and trying to last as long as I can, you know. It's more of like a mental battle for me.
Mm.
And grit, you know. So
My buddy Colin is he's a firefighter now, but he was a collegiate swimmer. And
okay.
we'll just go to the pool every once in a while and just swim. And when he gets in the water, dude, it's like poetry in motion. As I tell him, it's crazy to watch a normal person swim and then watch him swim
All right.
because he's just put in the time and the hours and the reps. And with just running and swimming, the only thing to do, like you get better at that by doing a lot of it.
Yeah.
And we just set the clock and we just swam for 30 minutes, just swimming. And he got out of the water and was like talking to me and telling me like it
Yeah.
didn't affect him at the all slightest. It's impressive to see those longer type of endurance type athletes who are
Yeah.
running.
It's amazing to see like the capacity that he has swimming wise is the same kind of capacity I have running wise, but you put me in a pool, dude, I'm sinking, bro. I mean, I could swim, I could survive, right? But I'm not a swimmer by any means, bro. And it's something that like I always wanted to work on too, and I think I'm going to continue to get better in the pool. But it's amazing, bro. I take my hats off to like the swimmers because I'm like, you guys are insane.
What about you, Erik? On land or in the water? Where do you like your odds better?
Right now, land,
Right now,
but
land.
I can swim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You feel do you feel more in that mile and a half time trial? You feel comfy there? Would you rather do like a long distance swim?
Oh, I'd rather knock out a mile and a half.
Yeah, that's such a it's a crazy time to me in that mile and a half time trial. It's something that I've been kind of training and dealing
Yeah.
with as well, is that there's that 7 to 8 minute mark. You start to hit that little that shitty part and you're like,
Yeah.
well, either you can run faster and try to like get a good time or you can
Yeah.
quit. And there's that moment where you have to make that decision.
Yeah. It's the funny thing about that is like when I was training for it, you know, everything that I trained for, especially like in my collegiate career, was I was so focused on pace and every workout was so pace oriented that like you need to know your pace, you need to know your pace. They threw me at selection Florida Smoke Diver. They're like, hey, the watch is off. I'm like, oh, that's when I was like, oh, shit. You know, then you're just running and you got to figure out what pace, you know, and it's like, but then you're just racing, you know, the same kind of thing that you're doing when you're racing when I was at Florida, you know.
Was- I'm pretty sure there was no collegiate track and field athletes lining up for that time trial.
I don't know, man. There were some good people there. There's
Yeah,
some dogs there.
they're
Yeah.
absolute dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
And
sure.
you gotta earn your keep. You gotta earn your spot. So it's you against you at that point, you know?
Yeah.
What can you put out? So that's where I met Justin. We were at selection together.
Heck
Yeah.
yeah.
And God willing, we'll be at the course this coming February 2025. We'll be out there
Yeah,
together.
man. There's a lot of big dogs meeting in Florida come February. A lot of fun guys gonna be figuring some shit out.
Yeah.
So what would you say like the biggest parallel or transition similarity wise from running to firefighting is?
I think it's very comparable, and not just running, but like what sport told or taught me growing up and the qualities that I learned in sport, um, instilling into me and bringing that whole thing into the fire service, right? You have the same people that were your coaches growing up. They're your leaders in the fire service. You're going every day that you're training for a goal, right? Same thing that I was doing in sports, man. It's you look up to certain people, you look up to certain people in sports, man. It's very comparable to me, and um, that's what is so cool about the fire service too. As well as on top of that, everybody's good at something else, man. So you can always learn from somebody something, right? I was involved in sports and training and that lifestyle growing up, right? That's what I brought into the fire service. I like the fitness side of it, right? We had people that were roofers. We have people that were contractors. We have somebody that's so good with tools, and I'm not, man. I'm the first person to tell you, like, I'm not good with a hammer.
Yeah, dude, don't give me the hammer unless you
Yeah.
want it.
Yeah. So that's something that I could be like, hey, the guy that I work with, Randy, I'm like, hey, Randy, can you teach me how to swing a hammer? Can you, hey, Nate, can you teach me how to drive a stick shift? like there's something that you can learn from everybody, and it's so great that I mean, I learned that in sports too growing up, man. So
Nice.
And team aspect, no? Yeah, the team aspect.
Yeah.
So
absolutely, good point,
even
Eric.
though even though there are individual tasks as an individual, pretty good. I mean, you got to mesh with the crew and with the team. So I think
Absolutely.
that parallels each other.
Yeah, and the brotherhood, sisterhood that you had, that I had in with that team, the bonding that I had, I have that again. You know, and that was something that I lost after school during COVID when the whole world shut down. Is like you don't know what to do. I don't know. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, so I was like lost, working the minimum wage job at the pizza shop, figuring out what I wanted to do next in life. And then my dad just told me, "Hey man, go take a ride, go see what it's like," and it changed my life because it has the same thing that was instilled inside of me as a kid. So,
So, Justin, do you ride an engine? You're on a ladder?
so we do 3 month rotations. Right now, I'm on the tower.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so we do 3 months. So I did downtown at 81. We have 3 trucks out of there and a battalion, um, an engine, a truck, and then a rescue. The rescue staffed, if we have the staffing for it. It's just a non-transport rescue. It's not like a heavy rescue or anything like that. We're in the works of getting that as our third truck instead. But yeah, right now I'm on the truck, riding backwards every now and then, just because of personnel. So I drive a lot. But yeah, man, I'm happy where I'm at, man. I took a couple classes, and I'm here where I'm at now, man. Just finished my medic last year, so
That's
Good
dope.
for you,
That's
dude.
dope.
yeah.
Yeah. How tough was that process, medic?
It was something that I always wanted to do, man. And to be honest, and I get a lot of crap at work being called a nerd because we were a BLS department for a very long time before I got there, and we just went ALS. Sorry, excuse me. We just went ALS 2 years ago now at this point. So it was a lot of big transition, and it's kind of like the same kind of like respect on the fire ground you got to have. You got to have that same amount of respect as the lead medic on at a medical scene, man. You know, it's my patch, but I also want to be respectable of those guys. So it put me in a tough spot at first, but I'm trying to kind of get used to it now. You know,
But Florida doesn't play around. Like a majority of the departments, you have to be a paramedic to even get on. So I tip my hat to that. But our department here is moving towards more some ALS. So I'm excited for that, and that's something I look forward to. So yesterday we took some time and went and trained at our training center with our recruit school, and this brought a lot of back of like nostalgia of like working with the new recruits.
yeah.
So we did some training evolutions and some live burning, and it was fun to watch them. What was like recruit school Justin like? Like what were those feelings? Because you probably went in there like to be like really frank, like a fucking stud, and everybody else you're probably like, I don't know about these guys.
I will say this. I told Eric this earlier. Everything early on to the fire service was so humbling because I was humbled every single day. I can probably what I think 4 months earlier to when I went to fire school, I was sitting there as an All-American at the national championship meet for an 800 meter, like, and then I go into fire service and I'm like, or fire school, and I'm humbled. You put on that gear, as Logan Broberg always states, like the gear is the almighty equalizer, man. And you put that on, and that bitch comes out inside of you, and you're like, oh my god,
Yeah,
it is
yeah,
what
yeah.
I was
You
humbled
gotta tame it. Yeah,
for
you gotta.
me, still young, and it showed me that like, man, it's different.
Yeah.
So, um, I would say recruit school Justin was humble, man, and being like, dang, this is different.
It's real. This is
Yeah,
real. This
Well,
is
it's
real
hard to
yeah,
go from the tip of the spear back down to a humble beginning, which you talked about. Was that an easy process, or did that like was that hard for you to do, or was it just like a moment in time you're like, well, I don't know shit about shit, so let's start here.
yeah. I think it was more so I don't know shit about
Yeah.
shit. Being, I was screamed at in college, so being screamed at in standards wasn't a big deal for me. Like I could take that. It was more so like, here's rope. You haven't touched rope in your whole life. You're learning a brand new skill, nothing that you're used to. I was so used to anything that was so structured in college. Like I had every single week, I was doing the same exact, right? And then I was so lost because I had nothing. when COVID hit. Then I get to here. It's a brand new opportunity for me to like learn all these things when I was like, dude, ropes was like the hardest thing for me in standards because I was like, I don't know any of this shit, you know, anything. And I'm still like that 3 years on the job, man. It's like, yeah, I know enough now, but I know more so like the grit aspect of like, and being the guy that'd be like, hey guys, let's learn something new every single day because I'm never going to know everything. This fire service, like there's never a point where you can be like, hey man, I made it. So.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you could give a recruit some good advice going in or continuing their recruit school, what would that be?
My buddy's in recruit school right now. So funny you said that. He's an ex-Marine. He knows grit. He knows all this other stuff. And I told him the other day, I was like, hey man, head down, close your mouth, and listen. Like that's the best thing that I can get. Like the best advice I can give you. Like listen and just don't think that you're going to be the smartest guy in the room. You're never going to be the smartest guy in the room. There's always somebody that you can learn from, and just watch the other people in the classroom because they're going to show you a lot of the mistakes that everybody sees in recruit school of thinking that they're better than somebody else, or you know, it's humbling. You can learn a lot every single day.
The guy that was the best, I mean, I would say the highest performing recruit in the recruit school didn't say a fucking word yesterday. Like he was just the quietest guy in the group. There's 30 of them, and he didn't have to say anything, which is probably where you want to be.
And the old fire service, man, it's like back in the day, my dad was telling me everything was sit down, shut up, don't talk. Like unless you have 3 years on. And I mean, we don't have that here now, right? Because everybody has a voice, but there's something that's with that of why they were trying to say that of sit down, shut up, don't talk for 3 years is because you have so much to learn those first 2 years of joining a department and joining the fire service, man. So it's something that's with that saying, you know.
Erik, what was that kind of transition for you? I knew there was some time in between, but when you're coming from the military, you know, working at a high level, then going back to the bottom of the pole, the totem pole.
Yeah, it was, I'm just here to do work. And the one time I did speak, I got 8 demerits. So I just shut the fuck up from that point on. And I don't run shit here. I'm not going to run shit. So let me stay quiet and do work.
Does Miami-Dade work off a merit system?
Demerits, yeah.
Demerits.
In the academy, yeah.
So if you lose X amount, you're done. You get to a certain
point.
You
get fired, right? You're not even given a chance, right? So I learned quick that I don't run shit here. I'm just gonna stay quiet, do my head down, do my work, and that's exactly what I did. And then I got appointed class leader. So I didn't even want to be class leader, but I got appointed class leader.
Yeah.
Justin, 2 questions for you, man. As far as training gear, can you pinpoint, or do you know the moment where you're like, okay, this is different? Or was it just like an ongoing type of thing and where like, I wear the gear, okay, I gotta get better at it? Because you're pretty competitive, right? You have alpha status. You want to be the best at what you do, right? As do we all. So when was it? Can you pinpoint it, or was it like an ongoing process?
It's ongoing to this day, man. Like you can put the gear on one day and feel absolutely wonderful, and the next day you're being absolutely humbled. So I think like I said, the first point that I saw it was in fire school in standards when I first put it on, because I started fire school in August, right? So the hottest point of the year in Florida, in Central Florida, you're putting your gear on and you're dying every single day, you know? That was the first time I felt that, where I was slapped in the face. And then every summer I get slapped in the face here in Florida, man.
Exactly.
Was the most
exactly
time, and I was in gear a lot, and it was the worst that I felt every single day, because I'm having that question of like the question in the back of my head of like, am I supposed to feel like this? You know, can I give up, or do I give up? Do I take my pack off? Do I take my gloves off? Or it's like, no, just keep going, finish the workout. You're gonna be fine, bro. You know.
Exactly. I deal with that, bro. I'm there with you. Like, yo, am I supposed to feel this way? Is this normal?
The variability of confidence in days is like, some days you put it on, you're like, dude, I feel great. I feel like a weapon. And then some days you're like 5 minutes in, you're like, this is a bad idea. This is terrible. But you still do it.
Yeah.
But when I get to that place, I would say that that's what's going to feel like on game day. Like you're not gonna feel your best when you have to perform all the time. So to get through those, they're not pretty, they're not like, anything great, but you still gotta grind.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the days.
Second
Absolutely.
question, as regards to seeking outside training outside your department. I recently saw you were with One Bad Tour, completed that. Now you're training for Florida Smoke Diver. So talk to me about seeking training outside your department and just wanting to like experience. And I mean, I have my reasons why I do it. I mean, I'm just curious to know why you do it.
Yeah, I think we're like-minded, Eric. So I think my answer is going to be kind of similar to yours. But you see the people that I think the worst thing you can do in the fire service, like I said earlier, is think that you made it after a certain point. You caught off probation. You think that now it's time to kind of settle. But I have been in this mentality of like, I want to take class after class after class because there's so, like I said earlier, so much you can learn, right? So my biggest mentor, Nate Karn, Florida Smoke Diver, he's an instructor, One Bad Tour. He's an instructor of all these other classes. He pretty much put that into our probationary, training. Our orientation training was a lot of the stuff is centered on what he has learned from all these classes, right? So I loved it, man. I fell in love with a lot of that stuff. So I took a couple classes first, right? Like my TRT classes, my pump operator, all this other stuff. But then I was like, all right, I'm done with the classes that, are not in gear, right? Let's try stuff that's in gear. So I did truck company ops. I did Agent City with them. I did One Bad Tour. And I think you can learn something from each class. There's something to learn, and bring your pen and paper. And like, just like you guys were talking about in another podcast that I watched, is like, you get done with a terrible workout, a hard workout. It's a cookie in the cookie jar, right? You get through One Bad Tour. Doesn't make you better than anybody else, right? But you go through something for 24 hours where you're mentally tested, right? So physically wise, everyone's asking me like, what can I do to prepare for One Bad Tour? What can I do? And I'm just like, prepare how you normally prepare, man. Prepare how you normally prepare. Get good at calisthenics, get good in gear, be comfortable in your gear. But then it's testing the mental part of the job that is the biggest takeaway that I got from that. And same thing that I'm sure we're going to learn here in a couple months in Ocala, man. It's testing your mental part of the job of how long can you take the grunt work,
What do you think the best way, and this is a question for both you guys, is that what is the best way to train the mental? Like, what do you think is the most effective way?
For me, it's going to that dark place, man. You got to go to that place and you got to see what happens. My college coach, before every big meet, national championship or SEC, he said the first person, everybody has the bitch inside of them. Sorry, excuse my language. He said,
That's okay.
Everybody has that bitch inside of them. He said the first person that lets it out loses, right? So same thing that when you're putting on gear, man, it's like you get to this dark spot and then you get sloppy. And then once you lose the, how do I explain this? The little things, right? The little things that cost you the big thing. You start getting sloppy, you're pulling the sled and you don't turn the sled around for the next person that's going to use it, man. It's like the little things like that. It's like, come on, now the person behind you's got to turn your sled around and pull it instead of just being like, I'm going to, it's just the little things like that, when you start getting to a dark place, you stop doing. So.
Yeah, the intangibles.
Yeah.
Right. Small things. The attention to details. The small details, the minute details. Reilly, to answer your question, bro, I went through this program called SEER when I was younger. SEER is search, evade, resist, escape with the Army. It's a 3-week program. The first week you're crawling. It's a crawl, walk, run type of program. First week you're crawling. Second week you're walking. Third week you're running. I found out a lot about myself in that program. And it's kind of like the template to what I do, to what I do. So, how do you test the mental? You just gotta put yourself in that situation, man, where like
I heard they fucking lock you up and like play some weird fucking music in that
it's
school.
it's probably the toughest thing I've ever done.
Oof.
Like school-wise, the toughest
3
course
weeks
I've
is
ever
a
done.
3 weeks is a long time to get lucky.
And man, there's just so many things there. Are you claustrophobic? Are you afraid of the dark? Can you sustain hearing baby cries for hours on end? I mean, being physically like assaulted with an open palm, can you, you know, the hardest I've ever been was in SEER school. The hardest I've ever been hit was in SEER school.
Jesus.
So yeah, man, I guess when the opportunity arises, are you gonna like not show up? Are you gonna cower? Or are you gonna show up, you know, and reap the benefits of the work you put in and are about to put in or whatnot? So yeah, man.
I'm just
Shit.
asking for me personally. I'm so used to the physical dark place. Like, let's say we're in a workout, I can put my head down and do what I need to do to get
Yeah.
there, and you can keep training that same type of way with your mental like strength. But is there other ways to go about it? You
I,
know,
I guess what
doing
I'm trying
hard
to say
tasks.
is,
Oh, go
yeah,
ahead.
I guess what I'm trying to say is submit yourself to a program that you have no control over.
Mm-hmm.
And that program depends, like your livelihood depends on it. So when I went to Georgia, bro, if I don't fucking pass this program, I'm gonna lose my job, you know? So whatever you had to tell yourself, if I don't pass this program, my family's gonna be ashamed of me, or I mean me, whatever. In SEER school, if I don't pass this program, my hopes of being a pilot and my family, like my family's livelihood is done. Like my family is counting on me to like provide for them. And if I don't do this, if I fucking quit, then I might as well not like be alive or whatnot. I mean, I know it sounds harsh. You should hear the way I talk to myself, but these are things I tell myself, like, yo, man, like you got people counting on you. And if you don't fucking show up and pass, like you're done. Like you ain't shit. So yeah, I kept it PG.
Let yourself down. Like that's the same thing that you're kind of explaining. And there's a good point when you said that get yourself a program that that you have to do no matter what. And no matter what it says on that day, the worst days in my experience is like the days that you don't want to do it are the hardest days, right? Because you keep having the mental breakdown of like, hey man, nobody's watching, like let's just chill. It's like, no, man, just finish the workout, get it done, and you're gonna feel a lot. That's why I love the saying that I heard like probably 2 months prior was putting that cookie in the cookie jar, and I can't get ahead because it's so great, man. It's like it's awesome that you can get through something on top when you didn't want to,
Mm.
that when you think you couldn't, and then
It's like an earned confidence.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Hell yeah. So, Justin, would you say that um, going to Smoke Divers is just a platform to do something cool next? Like, let's just say you're successful. What does that do for you? Like what do you plan to kind of go from there?
Yeah, I think so I have a lot of people in my life that have went through the program. A lot have failed and a couple have passed, right? And like I said earlier, I want to take away something from every class that I take, right? So I took something away from truck company, from one bad tour, from all these other classes. The one thing I want to take away that I've heard that you learn the most out of this class is on the crazy calls, the call starts to kind of slow down for you because you're comfortable in your gear. You've been through the darkest spot possible at this course, right? And it slows down the whole scene for you, which is something that I need, man. And I'm the first person to tell you, like, hot call comes out, I'm running to the truck, my adrenaline to the roof. I want to get there first. I want to punch a door down. It's like when sometimes you just got to be like, hey, man, slow down, you know? So I think that's the one thing I want to get out of the class the most for me personally. And that's something that my buddy Jake Pagno, he went through 4 years ago, I believe. Passed it on his second time. And Lieutenant Nate Karn, that works for us too. He passed it in 16, I believe, 2016. So they say the same thing for me. Like that's what they would want out of me, and that's what I want out of myself now.
Yeah. You find yourself excited, like you're excited to
Yeah.
to get there, to do some work or
Yeah.
whatnot. Because when you start moving, that excitement dwindles, right? So initially when I first got on, the tones would drop. I'll get excited, right? And I don't like the word excited. I mean, I hear excited, I associate it with excited delirium. So it already has a negative connotation for me. So I don't like being like excited. I just like to stay like calm. But initially, the tones will drop, I'll get excited. Up until recently, I don't get excited anymore. There's no excitement. Try to stay level-headed. Try to stay as calm as possible. Control your heart rate. Control your breathing. And that, my man, that comes through preparation.
Yep.
Confidence is built on preparation. So me knowing that I can do XYZ, now I'm good. I'm pretty confident that, or I'm prepared because of my preparation, and I'm confident that I can do the work. There's no more excitement now. So
Yeah.
so yeah, man. Bro, as you were speaking, I was like, damn, did that just happen to me?
Yeah.
Well, last night we got toned out for like a first due burner, and it's in our area. I know the map. I know where we're going, and I'll definitely say that I was excited. I was like, let's fucking go. Like, I'm ready to go. We pull up. The whole thing is off. I mean, it's what you train for, and you're finally in the spot where you're like, I get to do the thing that I get to train for. So it was fun. It was a good time. But yeah, I still get excited, especially
Yeah, it's
you know
cool.
I
certain
think
calls.
we're
I
always,
wouldn't say excited. I would say just like an adrenaline dump.
yeah.
Like that is the most pure adrenaline spike. Is like we're about to go to work, boys. We're
And
about
with
to be here
that,
for at least 7 hours doing
yeah,
this.
and with that said too is something that I had early on in my career is like that adrenaline dump cost you 10 minutes into the fire because you're
Mm.
gassed.
Yeah.
No matter how well you prepare, you have this huge dump of I want to do everything right now, and you're gassed, right? So having the preparation and the slowing down the scene so that you can do the work that you prepared to do, that you've done, in gear the last year and a half, 2 years to prepare, you can do that every fire scene. So
Amen.
So what what have you done with your prep for Florida physically that you hadn't been doing previously? Like what's the script the training looking like?
I think it's more so being more comfortable in your gear than you have. Um, in prior classes, there was days that you can chill, right? When you think of this class, people tell you this all the time, and you see the people that have went through this class and have failed, not failed, but learned, right? Not passed. Um, that they tell you the almighty equalizer, man, the gear, because you got to be in gear a lot. So it's got to be your second home. For me, I've always been the skinny guy. Like I told you earlier, like I'm the small guy. Some people don't think that I can get through Florida Smoke Diver because I'm 158, 160 pounds, man. It's like I want to show that anybody can do this. You don't have to be this 6'4", ultra guy to do this job, man. It's like the little guys can do it too.
Yeah, that's motivation right there. That's
Nothing like putting that wet gear on, boys.
Yeah,
Nothing better than putting that wet gear on. You did some work previously and you know you're about to do it all over again. That's a sombering kind of like, here
yeah,
we go, boys.
yeah. It's cool, man. It's
So more running, more workouts and gear. Are we talking like calisthenics? We talking like kind of O course type stuff?
yeah, deck of cards, O course,
I'm
everything.
kind of asking for a friend.
So the thing that I got when I was at selection, which has been helping me a lot too, is Logan, which you guys are going to talk to later. Mr. Broberg, Lieutenant Broberg now is
Yeah,
LT
right.
third row.
LT Broberg.
Yeah,
Exactly. Put some respect on it.
the deck of cards that he has of workouts on every single, so that you don't have to think about it. You just be like, hey, I'm dropping this card down, go to work. Let's do it. So
Yeah, yeah.
stuff like that every now and then, but a lot of deck of cards, a lot of O courses. Yeah.
And that's
We
it.
on air, we off air?
A lot of time off air.
Mhm.
I'll go on air for O courses if I'm going to do like a couple bottles or something like that. But mostly I like to do off air because you have that humidity factor hitting you in the face when you're sucking in air. That you're not
Yeah.
sucking cold air, you're sucking in that humid, hot, nasty air.
The worst for me, I think, is mask, no air.
Yeah, it's tough.
That's the shittiest situation.
Yeah.
I love it, but I hate it at the same time.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
we're gonna live there for a little bit.
Hmm.
So Justin, we usually like to wrap these up with like a mantra or something you go to when things get difficult. So let's say you're hitting hitting some tough times or things aren't going your way. What are you telling yourself in your brain to keep going?
I think it's never a bad thing. Like when things aren't going your way, things are tough. You got to find a way to reset. So no matter what that has to be, if you need a day off, if you need to take a step back, go on a trip, everybody needs to reset every now and then. And with that said, people need to be pulled in every now and then because uh, we kind of get off our game, whether that's the little things at work, um, whether that's in gear, not doing what you're supposed to be doing. We need somebody to kind of step in and be like, hey, man, I'm seeing this out of you. Snap out of it. Let's go. And you need the people like that in your life. And I have a lot of people like that in my life that'll like be like, hey, dude, you were a real POS today. I don't know what's gotten into you, but it's like, copy that. Yes, sir. I'm so sorry about that. Next shift, I'll come better. Right. Or same thing with the gear, but we got to find a way to reset our mind, reset our focus. And I think everyone's different. For me, it's like, go hang out with my girl. Let's go do something. Let's go to the beach. Let's go on the boat. Let's go pool. Let's find something. And we have two dogs that are awesome, man. So those are kind of like the things that I love most in life that gets me back on topic, back on what I need to get focused on.
Yeah, I can always feel that when I need that. And also my wife will remind me, like, hey, you need to take a day.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we need to reset. We need to have a trip, like a day trip. She's always she can see the signs in me a lot better than I can. Because
Yeah.
my head is down and I'm gonna go, I'm gonna grind, I'm gonna do the things. And
Yeah.
she's like, hey man, you need to take a day. We need
Yeah.
to take some time. And I think that's important to have those people in your life.
Absolutely, man. I saw a video the other day, probably like 2 weeks ago now, that you're explaining how your son's gonna have the gym. And but then I was like, when you're getting teary-eyed, bro, I was like, I caught myself in the same situation. Tearing, sitting behind a phone, being like, "Damn, Reilly, that's deep." But
I'm glad they only had the audio for that, not the video, because there was there's some onions being
yeah,
chopped in here.
hey, that's human, bro. That's you being you, and that's something that you gotta worry about because I love that shit, man. I love
Yeah,
being vulnerable.
yeah. I mean, it's where my sister-in-law just had her baby yesterday, so I'm an uncle to someone else. So that's
Nice,
pretty cool.
bro.
My wife and my sister-in-law were 5 days apart with their due dates, so that baby's here now. Now it's time. Now it's pretty much any day now, but
Awesome.
yeah, it's about to be an emotional fucking roller coaster, boys.
You're the man for it, bro. You
I
got
think I think we'll be okay, man. I think we're okay.
Exactly.
Do you remember this point, Eric, where it was like Jelly was or your daughter was coming
Hmm.
and like you knew it was right before that was coming, and how did you feel there?
Uh, I didn't know what to feel. I know that when she first came out, I gave her first kiss,
That's
and that's
tough.
probably the greatest day of my life. Like, but regardless of accolades, accomplishments, no matter what I've done in life, that's the single greatest moment of my life. Seeing that little girl be born.
What I've been telling people is like when you're approaching a milestone in life, like you're approaching a thing that's going to change you forever going forward, there's this weird, like I have this weird energy of like I know that nothing's going to be the same, but I want to enjoy everything the way it is right now as we're getting closer to it. But I know in a matter of weeks, my life will look completely different. My priorities are going to be different.
Mm.
My relationship with my wife's going to be different. Everything will be different from here. So
yeah,
it's kind of a weird space in this last month of pregnancy has been just trying to enjoy what we have now, but knowing that everything's going to be better, but different.
I think the land of the unknown, which you have some knowledge of what's going to be happening, like, but still the unknown of it's not here yet.
Yeah.
So, and we have that in everything in life too. That's like a deep, but I think you're going to do a great job. Just like everything that you got to like step on your foundation for everything in life, bro. So I think you'll be just fine. You know what I mean?
All right. So the real question I want to ask you, do you think Billy can turn it around at University of Florida?
Hmm.
Do you think Billy's got to go, or do we need another coach at University of Florida? This is a hot take, and we will clip this and send it to the university. So,
Uh, Let me give you my real answer. My real answer is, can Billy get it done? Probably not, right? But it's gonna take a while for whoever's next to get it done as well.
yeah,
Because
so it's like, do you want to start out? I love it's kind of like a really complicated relationship. It's like, do you want to like start over with a new one, or do you just want to try to fix the one you got?
well, I think it's when you have such rich history like the
Mhm.
University of Florida does, the same thing Alabama is facing right now. Alabama's still a great school. They're
Mhm.
still a great program, but they don't have Nick Saban. So, and we don't have Spurrier. We don't have Urban Meyer.
We haven't had Urban Meyer for a long time, man.
So I'm telling you, like, it's up and down, man. Especially now with this NFL. It's like
Yeah.
I won a race in my college career that I won 6 grand, right? But I couldn't take it because of how it was back then. I had $10,000 in student loans because I didn't get a full ride or anything like that until
Yeah.
later.
So there
So
was no NIL when you finished
there
up.
was a time, bro. I still had student debt that I couldn't even pay off my 6 grand of winning my prize money. Now these guys are getting $1 million before they even step foot on the football field. It's like it's
Yeah.
bro, it's hard to compete. It's all, I feel so bad for like the coaches nowadays. It's like
Mhm.
it's nothing they can do, bro, because
Are
these
track
kids,
athletes getting that NIL, bread? Are they getting paid?
yeah, but it's not the NIL money that you're seeing on the bigger
Mhm.
sports. These guys are getting like I think like local deals. So
Mhm.
like probably local shops, whatever it is.
But if you give a college kid a couple extra $100 a week, they can make that shit. You can make some stuff happen with that.
Yeah. And
I-
especially in track and field because you only get 13.1 scholarships for the whole team.
Mm,
But the NIL money can pay somebody's way through college, bro. So
yeah.
it's
I had a
it's
buddy that played football at USC, University of South Carolina, and he was telling me when he played there, and this was 2010, 2015, that the money that the kids would get, like maybe like over weekend money or like a trip money or stuff like that, they would take that money and give it right back to their families. Like so, these guys, the money they were getting to eat and just survive for the weekends was going to their families so they could pay their bills. And now 10 years later, they're they're buying their people houses, they're buying mom cars, which I love to see. I
yeah,
think that for a long time the NCAA got away with a little bit of murder when it came to the
yeah,
profit sharing.
the ultimate scam. Yeah, I think for the longest time is they took advantage of the athletes, but I think it needs to be regulated somehow. Um,
Yeah,
and the one thing I hate seeing now is the transfer portal and just no loyalty towards any school. Because when I signed the dotted line back when I went to Florida, like when I signed it, it wasn't like a 1 year deal. It was like, I want to be here for 4 years no matter what. I don't care if we win every game. I don't care if we lose. I don't care if I don't ever win a track meet in my life. Like,
yeah,
I was loyal to Coach Holloway and to the University of Florida that you just don't see nowadays. It's just sad.
yeah. I think you have to recruit all of your college athletes every year. That's what it's turning into. Is like you have to court these athletes every year now because they have a good year, then they have the leverage on the university. Like,
Yeah.
hey, I need more money, or I can get more money at where or anywhere else. So yeah.
What
Sorry, a little uncivil
uh,
sports talk.
you're good.
Eric is
I want to
like Eric's
before we move on. I want to hear your side. How did you become a Florida fan?
so actually all my people are from Florida, so my parents both went to high school. They're from Tampa, so they went to Brandon High School.
Okay.
Um, this is actually like a Florida Hall of Fame question. My grandmother worked at the first Beef O'Brady's. So like Beef O'Brady's is like a little sports bar
Yeah.
in like Brandon area. But yeah, so my family, that's where they met. I grew up. My first onesie was a Gator onesie. My grandfather and my grandmother, they're like golden years of their retirement. They bought an RV and they just followed the football team like during the season. So if
Nice.
they went to Tuscaloosa, they'd follow them. They were
Um,
part of this group called the Rowdy Gators.
I
It was
love it.
just a bunch of retired old people that would follow the team.
That's awesome, man.
So a lot of my childhood memories are going to the swamp with my grandpa and, him coming to University of South Carolina and just, being with my family, my close-knit family with the Gator. So
Yeah.
that's kind of something that I want to keep like a tradition I want to keep going with my son.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to think back of all the games that I went with my grandfather, you know?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love it. Cool,
It's a
man.
curse, man. It's a curse. It's not, it was great
hard.
when I was a kid with the Tebow era. Like, they were really good, and now it's not been good. So my grandfather is like flipping in his grave at this point.
Yeah, it's hard to see some weekends, man. And like, we talk about the standard a lot and in the fire service, but like the Gator standard and what I learned from Florida is like it's hard seeing what we see right now out there because the Gator standard's still alive in every other sport. But I'm still a fan, man. I'm gonna ride it out.
Yeah. For better or for worse, I think the
Right.
the Gators are here to stay for me at least. We just bought our baby a Gator onesie, so
I love it, dude.
it's a lock. He's locked in.
I'll buy you guys another one.
Yeah. Well, Justin, man, thank you for coming on the podcast, man. We appreciate you. Again, I'll say for Erik, if you need anything, let us know, brother. We're here for it. And I think the same goes for you as well. We'll reach out if we need anything, brother.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you guys' time and my first time doing something like this, being on a podcast. So sorry if I was a little awkward. Sorry if I don't know what I'm doing, dude. But
Nah, you did great. You did great, brother.
Nah, my dude.
Yeah,
Nah,
appreciate
solid.
you guys.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for your time, bro.
Yep. Take care, boys.
So, to all the viewers and listeners out there, the Uncivil Mentality Podcast, thank you for joining us. On behalf of myself, Erik Vidal,
And I'm Reilly. Kilbride. Get after it. Get in your gear. Start f***ing training. It can never be enough.